Email Rick at rick@thericksmithshow.com. Until next time, this has been The Rick Smith Show, where working people come to talk.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. On Friday, the Chinese government said the Trump administration's move to ban international students from Harvard would harm America's international standing. Harvard called the Trump administration's move unlawful. Students from China make up a large part of the Ivy League's international student population. The Hong Kong University of Science and Technology extended an open invitation to international students already at Harvard and those who have been admitted. Iran and the U.S. will be meeting Friday for a fifth round of negotiations in Rome. They'll be discussing Tehran's rapidly advancing nuclear program. U.S. officials insist Iran cannot continue to enrich uranium under any deal. In exchange, some sanctions could be lifted. Early Friday, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi insisted online that no enrichment would mean we do not have a deal. European shares opened higher Friday while Asian stocks were mixed. This comes as U.S. Treasury yields eased after a rocky week stemming from concerns in the bond market over mounting U.S. government debt. Oil prices dropped after it was expected that the OPEC Plus group of oil exporters may decide on another increase in output at their next meeting. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports a Paris court will deliver the verdict in the Kim Kardashian jewelry heist trial.
A decade after robbers stormed Kim Kardashian's luxury residence and tied her up at gunpoint, a Paris court will decide the verdict in one of the most audacious heists in modern French history. 9 men and a woman stand accused of carrying out or aiding the crime during the 2016 Paris Fashion Week, when masked men dressed as police entered Kardashian's Paris home, bound her with zip ties and vanished with $6 million in jewels. At the heart of the trial is a man who's a veteran of Paris's criminal underworld. Prosecutors have asked for a 10-year sentence. The loot was never found. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
This is AP News. A special commencement address will leave other college graduates green with envy. AP correspondent Donna Warder tells us the special guest
was Kermit the Frog.
As I look out at you students, I can tell that you have all worked your tails off. And as a former tadpole, believe me, losing your tail is a pretty big deal.
Muppets creator, the late Jim Henson, graduated from Maryland in 1960. Kermit, who's been around since 1955, had some advice for graduates.
Rather than jumping over someone to get what you want, consider reaching out your hand and taking the leap side by side. Because life is better when we leap together.
I'm Donna Warder.
Thank you, University of Maryland. Thank you for having me. And congratulations to the class of 2025. Yay!
I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Skies will become mostly sunny here for today with a high into the mid-60s. Winds out of the northwest around 5 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. And then for tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 44. By Saturday, sunshine, a high around 64 degrees. Then by Sunday, mostly sunny skies, a high around 66. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 45.
As a fan, you know all the important sports cliches. And when you save money by bundling your home and auto with Progressive, you can get out there and give it 110%, even though that's mathematically impossible. And remember, failure is not an option. Well, it's always an option, just not a good one. But you're not worried because you've got ice in your veins. You're on fire. How can both of those things be true at the same time? Well, that's between you and your doctor. So get out there and leave it all on the field. Leave what? Who cares? Just leave it and save with a bundle from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn. Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Friday morning, progressives, and welcome to the May 23rd, 2025 edition of Choose Views. Got my Chicago hat on with my man Henry today, 773-763-9278. Facebook, and that's our Credo mobile phone and text line, by the way. Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. Email me at richard@WCPT820.com. Catch me on Substack. Also, catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcast or Spotify. There you can get Choose Views, short version and long versions. I'll talk a little bit about that later. Joan Esposito, of course, live, local, and progressive, Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez. The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath. Out Chicago, and all of our other shows and interviews throughout the course of the day and the weekend. Check out our heartlandsignal.com digital platform. Check this out, progressives.
In this, you are to direct your comments to the chair.
Mr. Speaker, you know what's interesting is that every time I've come on this floor, I can use sharp language. He can use sharp language. You choose to admonish me. I don't work for you, sir. I work for the American people.
I understand. House will be in order.
That was Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, if you didn't recognize the voice. But what I will say to you is a couple things. That's what every single Democratic leader, state, local, federal, needs to be saying. That needs to be coming out of their mouths every damn time they get to a microphone. I don't work for you, Donald Trump. I don't work for you, administration. I don't work for you, Speaker of the House, Speaker Pro Tem, the Senate, state legislatures. That needs to come out of the mouths of every Democratic elected official. And if you're running for office, it needs to be coming out of your mouth as well. I don't work for you, Elon Musk, big business person, on and on and on. I work for the American people, or the state at which I'm elected from. They need to be reminded. I would open, if I were sitting, Henry, as one of the congressional leaders or in a state legislature, and we were having a hearing, and you were the chair and you gave me my time, I would open by saying, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me be perfectly clear. I don't work for the Speaker of this committee. I work for the American people. Every single Democrat needs to start opening their anything that they say, any press conference that they hold. I work for the American people or the state, the citizens of the state that elected me. I don't work for you. Because if that can become a mantra or a leading statement, I believe there'll be more and more and more folks that will wake up and get back, hopefully see a way back into the game. I could be wrong, but start somewhere. Start there. We hear the analysts and so many other smarter people than me talk about what Dems should be doing and how, and this, that, and the other. Well, I'll tell you one of the things that can change right out of the gate is the way in which they deal with Republicans. Policy may be, we can get through that. We can figure that out. We tend to be better at policy. But that's the emotion that needs to be shown. I'm telling you, as a black man, that came from Representative and Minority Leader Jeffries. That came from his ancestors. I'm telling you, that's where that came from. There was a way in which his body was standing, and there was a way in which the intonation of that came from his ancestors. Trust me on that. And that's not meant to be offensive or anything to anybody that's not African American. But I'm telling you, that is a black man that has had enough of being treated a certain way. He likes to, Representative Jeffries, like many of the black men that are elected to Congress or any public office, what's hoisted on our shoulders oftentimes by the nature of who we are as a country is the ability to get along and work through and work with in the system. That's just a reality. And there's some folks out there that go, no, Rich, come on, dude. I learned very quickly in a young age to never tell a woman, oh, it's okay. No, you're going to be fine. Don't worry. Now, many of us guys, we slip and mess up and say that. Or you can't be feeling that way. We learn early, right, Henry? You say that once or twice and you get that look and you stop saying it, right? Don't do that, guys. I'm telling you. The parallel I'm making here is I know what I'm talking about when I hear that. And I know what Representative Jeffries, to some extent, has to navigate, how he has to navigate. So when he said that came from his ancestors, our ancestors. Trust me, it did. Anybody that doesn't believe me or doesn't get it, feel free to call and I'll explain to you in depth on the air why and how. Now, but that's a good thing. It's not a racist thing. It's a racial thing necessarily. It's a good thing. Our Democrats, all of our Democratic elected officials need to speak that way. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Latino, Muslim, everybody, all of us need to speak that way. From this point forward, that should be how they start. I don't work for you, Mr. Speaker. I work for the American people. So I'm hoping that they can draw something from that. You won't see that clip on MSNBC. You won't see it on CNN. You won't see it on Fox. You won't see it on NBC, ABC, or CBS. You see it, you heard it here. I'll send it to you if you want it. If you need something to keep that coal burning in your belly. Because that's where we need to be. We need that kind of energy. We need that kind of energy. And with this big bill that's been passed, and we got a lot to cover today, so I'm going to do my best to stay on point. We've got our good friend Karen Byrne that'll be in studio with us today, TruBlu Politics podcast. We'll be talking about some things that she's been following recently. And then historian, author, and great-granddaughter of Ida B. Wells, talk about another fighter. Michelle Duster will be with us this morning as well, talking a little bit about the history of Memorial Day and a few other things. Michelle she's that woman. She knows her history. She speaks her history, and she's going to talk about it. And I'm going to throw her a little bit of a fun curveball of something that she did, hopefully. But that's who we got with us today. And we have some really great clips and conversation that Henry and I have put together. So hopefully we'll get to most of those, but I want to stay on point as best I can. Some things to do and the rest. So listen, guys, this bill, this big, beautiful, everything's got to be big and beautiful. It's Trump's ego, disproportionately having to make it other than what it is. But let's talk about this for a second. This is where you can be involved. You got to call your senators. You got to call your governors. You got to call because now the bill is going to the Senate. You got to call your senators. Call all of them. Call your governors. Call your lieutenant governors. Call your attorneys general. Call them all and let them know how you feel about this bill. This bill, see, the reason that I added to this is call your governors and your lieutenant governors and your AGs is because they are the executives of the state. They're the top tip, and their secretaries of state are the top 3 to 4 executives of each state and how it's run. They are the ones that are going to have to be, and comptrollers. But the point is, call your state executives as well as your your U.S. senators. The reason for that is they are the executives in the state that are going to have to deal with the fallout of this bill on a state level. They're the ones that are going to have to be creative and make the tough decisions. So I want you to call them as well. It's not just the U.S. senators. Call all of them. The number to the White House, to the Capitol switchboard, let me get that right, is 202-224-3121. I dialed it myself just to make sure. 202-224-3121. That's the Capitol switchboard. You can Google your senator in your state, anywhere in the country. I don't care if they're Republican or Democrat. Don't worry yourself about that. If you're in a blue district in a red state and you've got 2 red senators, call their offices. In fact, you might want to call them more than you want to, not more, but you might want to call them as much, if not more, than your blue senators. Call them as well. All of them. Blow up their phone lines. Because this big, ugly bill is going to hurt so many people. When we come back, I'm going to talk a little bit more in the detail, get in a little bit of the weeds about that. So let's take a quick break. We're going to try to keep this train moving forward. My man Henry has got us on the rails, so we don't want to slip up and drive us off the rails. The Credo mobile phone and text line is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
This is a WCPT moment in labor. On March 25th, 1911, in Manhattan, a fire at the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory killed 146 workers, who were mostly women. The victims of the fire were unable to leave the burning high-rise building due to the exits being locked and were forced to leap to their deaths from the 8th, 9th, and 10th floors. Locking doors was a common practice to reduce theft and unauthorized breaks at workplaces. As a result of the fire, the New York State Legislature formed the Factory Investigating Commission, whose findings led to 38 new laws regulating labor. Some of the new laws mandated better egress, the installation of better alarm and sprinkler systems, and increased availability of fire extinguishers. Coincidentally, the American Society of Safety Professionals was formed, which now manages, researches, and consults occupational safety and health across 75 countries. This has been a WCPT Moment in Labor. We are working for your rights.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to Choose Views. If you're getting on the road right now, be safe, y'all. That goes out to everybody, family, friends, colleagues, anybody. Let folks know that you care about if they're going to be on the road today and certainly this weekend, but today is the big one. Everybody, please be safe. Put that phone down. If you got Bluetooth in your car, before you leave and hit the road, turn it on. Make sure it's working. Don't be looking at text messages and all that stuff. Please, y'all, be safe, be safe, be safe. And I normally try to cover this a day or so earlier, but if you haven't hit the road yet, just make sure your car is right. Check your tires, all those things. Just take a moment. Take that. It takes you a half an hour to make sure your car is right before you hit the road. It'll be worth it rather than sitting on the side of the road. So just take a moment today before you hit the road and check those things out. And also, make sure if you're leaving your house that you leave things right. You got the doors locked and turn everything off. You don't start a load of laundry and leave the washer machine running when you walk out the house. So turn the dryer. Don't do that. So anyhow, probably too much information, but everybody please be safe. That's what I want to say. All right. Let's hit a couple quick things that we normally hit on Fridays for you wonderful folks that listen to our show. And here we go. Today, live, local, and progressive, Joan Esposito will be back, and her guests will include Susan Casey, author of Underworld, Journeys to the Depths of the Ocean, and Robert Weiner, director of the Voting Rights Project at the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. Joan will be taking your calls, live, local, and progressive here on WCPT, Chicago's progressive talk for 20 years. Tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by Patrick Cortese, chair of the Democrats of McLean County. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 Central here on WCPT, Heartland Signal, website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Got a little surprise for you guys for next Monday. I'll share that with you as we get through the show today. But, Henry, let's take them on a quick journey through Choose Views News on a few quick items that you guys should be aware of. April home sales, the lowest since 2009. It's been a sour spring for the housing market. Sales of existing homes fell 0.5% from March to the lowest level since the Great Recession, according to the National Association of Realtors. The sales also dropped 2% from a year ago. The contraction comes as buyers are caught between high mortgage rates and prices on the one hand, and the anxiety about the economy and jobs on the other. The pace of sales has been stuck at 75% of pre-pandemic activity for 3 years, according to the National Association of Realtors. U.S. Treasuries to phase out the penny. Doggone it, I like pennies. The pennies dropped for good. New pennies will stop going into circulation by early 2026, the U.S. Treasury announced yesterday. After that, Americans will still be able to pay with pennies, but businesses will have to round their prices to the nearest 5 cents. The end of the penny, which has been in use since 1792, will save the U.S. Mint an estimated $56 million a year. The coin costs almost 4 cents to make, though it's worth a fraction of that. Harvard's foreign enrollment has been banned. Once again, the U.S. government, this particular administration, revoking Harvard University's ability to enroll international students, escalating the political battle between Trump and the Ivy League institution. Quote, Harvard can no longer enroll foreign students, and existing foreign students must transfer or lose their legal status. That's just disgusting, y'all. This is being administered by the Department of Homeland Security, those idiots over there. In response, a Harvard spokesman said the university was working quickly to provide guidance and support to students. And of course, this is on the heels of Trump's administration freezing the federal funding to Harvard for $2.7 billion. That's just absolutely insane. But see, this is what the jealous maggots wanted. And last but not least, the New York Knicks. For those of you who are sports fans, this is really a crazy story, Henry. The Knicks' first appearance in the NBA Eastern Conference Final in 25 years has sent the city into hysteria, according to Bloomberg. Sales of the team's classic blue and orange merch have jumped 80% year to year, per league e-commerce partner Fanatics. The hottest item, star point guard Jalen Brunson's jersey. By comparison, ticket prices have similarly spiked, with the cheapest seats costing $300 in Indianapolis. Because the Knicks and the Pacers are in the conference finals. Madison Square Garden court side seat tickets, because of the celebrity that are there, have spiked to close to $62,000. That's insane, y'all. And that might tick off a few people, but there you go. A couple of choose, views, news items. All right. Some things for you guys to be aware of that are coming up in recent weeks. We're going to get to things to do in Chicago in a moment. But for those who are trying to find things to do, or not things to do, but protests to be a part of, there is an event in Charleston taking place on Friday, June 6th. We'll talk about this more as we get closer. And Patriots Point. That's going to be in Charleston on June 6th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. for those of you who might be in that area. And then this is taking place in Columbia on the same day from Friday, June 6th from 1 to 3:30 p.m. at the State House. There's going to be a peaceful, nonpartisan rally in support of veterans. So one of the things that I'm going to kind of be adding to what we talk about on Fridays is where there are events going on, and where there are things that you can do to get involved with some of the protests, some of the rallies that I know folks want to be a part of. So just to kind of let you know that. All right, Henry, if you're here in Chicago, it's Memorial Day weekend. There's a lot going on, but we're going to give you a quick rundown of some of the things to do in Chicago this weekend. The Comedy Hour at the Annoyance Theater. I always thought that was a funny name, a cool name. The Annoyance Theater. That's located at 851 West Belmont. That's taking place today and tomorrow. Chicago's Best Stand-Up, The Laugh Factory, 3175 North Broadway here in Chicago, taking place today and tomorrow as well. The Franz West exhibit at Millennium Park. You all know where that is if you know Chicago, 201 East Randolph. And the Marriott Music Theater presents Titanic the Musical. That's taking place. We talked about that before. The Marriott Theater at 10 Marriott Drive. And this is a big one. This is already tying up traffic a little bit here. And that's the Sueños Music Festival. Where is that taking place, Henry? In Grant Park. So when anything is happening in Grant Park, there are 4 or 5 major thoroughfares that are going to get slowed down. But you might want to make your way over there if you're going to be in the city and looking for some Latin flair, Latin artists, the reggae-a-thon, and the like. Division Street Farmers Market, for those who want to get out, whether it's going to be decent, fresh produce, get some walk-in, get some steps in. That's 30 West Division, taking place tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. to noon. And then one of the most important events that we all should be mindful of is that since this is Memorial Day weekend, the Soldier Field 10 returns to Chicago over Memorial Day weekend to honor those that have made the ultimate sacrifice. And that's taking place tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. at 1410 Special Olympics Drive, which is over by Soldier Field. So make your way over, make your way out. Get out and about this weekend, guys. If you're going to be out involved in a rally or a protest or anything that you may find in your community anywhere in the country, get out and do that. Be safe, be smart, be active. And, of course, if you're going to be here in Chicago, there are a number of things to get out and about and do. And I want to kind of, add that to things for you guys to be able to do on the weekend. So many other rallies and events take place on the weekend, so we want to be able to bring you what we find anywhere in the country. And I'll do my dead level best to keep you guys up to snuff on what's going on. So lots of stuff to cover today, as I said before. And what I am going to do, I wanted to let you guys know about this. Next week on Monday, we are going to have a special broadcast of Choose Views, since it's going to be sort of a holiday for so many folks around here. We'll have a special broadcast of some of the top most recent shows that we will be airing for you guys on Monday. There's going to Henry and Devin potentially working together. They like each other, so they work together. They're cool with that. To put together a special broadcast of special guests that we've had. But then next week we'll be back on Tuesday. We'll have author and our new good friend Dante King, who might be giving away some more stuff in terms of his work. Jordan Wood, who's running for U.S. Senate and hopes to defeating Republican incumbent Susan Collins in Maine. State Senator, Lakeisha Collins will be with us. Of course, Kurt Mullet, Karen Byrne, Sarah Jones will be with us next week. And fingers crossed, and then I believe everything will play itself out. The newly elected mayor of Omaha, John Ewing Jr., will be with us as well. So we will be busy again next week bringing you guys the best that we've got in hopes that we get everybody in next week. So there you go. But Monday we'll have a special broadcast I think you guys will like with some of our recent interviews of some of the great people that have been so wonderful to be a part of our show. Henry, let's hit him real quickly before we go to this break with this Joe Walsh clip that we came across.
When people told you that they were voting for him because of the economy, they were lying. I think people voted for him because this country, too many people in this country, couldn't even think about voting for a black female. So when but they don't want to say, they're not going to say, I'm not voting for her because she's a woman or she's black. God forbid she's both. Oh, and by the way, she's married to a Jewish guy. They're not going to say that. They're going to say, I'm voting for him because of the economy. They're liars.
Hold on. Completely agree with a lot of what you say. But when we say they're liars, we don't mean all of them. Put your best spin on. Why would some?
He's a good businessman. They think he was going to make us money.
A good businessman, do good for the economy, make money. Okay, smart guy. Why did good people vote for Trump?
So there's a lot that goes on in that clip and back and forth. Joe Walsh was having a get together with some of his folks, and so how do I want to put this? They said it. They spoke the truth, Henry. They spoke the truth. It was no black folks in there. There were no folks of color, period. It was a bunch of white suburbanites in the Chicago area. And they said it. That's the reason. That's ultimately what happened. And I agree. The racism, sexism, Christian nationalism, which is not a thing, according to so many well understood folks of the Bible. But in any event, racism, sexism, Christian nationalism, and privilege. That's what it came down to. and add into that the component about, and this would fit into the category of racism, and as a guy said, and by the way, she's married to a Jewish guy. I mean, don't see. This is what sometimes makes me chuckle, is when people say to me, whether it be a text, whether it be an email, whether it be a call, whatever. Chew, come on, dude, you're beating up on the Republicans, the Republican voters, and Republican voters are smarter than that, and they weren't being racist or sexist. Okay, so you know what? I'll take a back seat to the dude that was at the dinner with Joe Walsh and say, okay, don't believe me. I mean, if a white dude says it, is he being racist, Henry? I don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am. So we have all these things that we talk about, all the analysts, all the strategists, all the people that are smart people in this space talk about how messaging was bad and messaging was this and it didn't touch the right people. And I'm willing to say we have to work on that. However, for those who think I may miss it every now and again, at the end of the day, not that we need a white guy to justify it, but when a white guy speaks the truth in a room full of other white folks, I think you might want to listen. All right, let's take a quick break, guys. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them. They have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go. And that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Skies will become mostly sunny here for today with a high into the mid-60s. Winds out of the northwest around 5 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. And then for tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 44. By Saturday, sunshine, a high around 64 degrees. Then by Sunday, mostly sunny skies, a high around 66. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 46.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to the show. 773-763-9278 is the Credo mobile phone and text line. Shout out to Trish out in Arizona. Thanks for your text this morning, reminding me of a few things. I appreciate that. Have a great day and a good weekend. Shout out also to Darlene and shout out to Lois. There you go. All of you guys are up and early this morning, particularly Trish, way out in Arizona. Good Lord, girl. Get yourself some sleep. Anyhow. All right. So I am not going to try to be Mr. Budget Man today, but I'm going to give you guys some things to quote unquote chew on about this one big, beautiful bill. These are some of the highlights that I'll just give you, and then we'll come back and go through a couple different other things that I've put together. It's projected to have a modest positive impact on the U.S. economy, likely adding about 0.5% to the gross domestic product over 10 years. Okay. Folks who said during the election, I want to change now, ain't going to get that right now. That's just a fact of how these bills work, particularly when they're top heavy with these continuing the 2017 tax breaks. Okay. So it's also estimated to increase the federal deficit by $3.3 trillion over the same period of time. The bill mainly focuses on extending and expanding tax cuts, with some provisions potentially benefiting high-income earners more than low-income households. There it is. Job creation, very minimal. Potential for increased investment in infrastructure and businesses, very minimal. Negative impacts. The primary concern is a projected $3.3 trillion increase in the federal deficit. A very distinct uneven distribution of benefits. Analysts argue that the tax cuts primarily benefit high-income earners and that negative impacts of the bill could disproportionately affect low-income households. Increase in the national debt. The impact on clean energy. The bill changes tax credits related to clean energy that could potentially harm the development and deployment of renewable energy sources. That's because this administration and all of his boys and girls are in the pockets of the big oil and gas companies. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't any Dems that have taken some money, gotten some money from big oil and gas. I'm not saying that. But in this case, I doubt, based on my research, let me put it this way. Let me put this the right way. Based on my research, I haven't seen any Dems on a federal level that are voting down and voting away resources going to renewable energy sources. Okay, so that's a big deal. So one of the big challenges here is Medicaid and SNAP cuts. The bill includes provisions that could reduce spending on Medicaid and the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which could negatively impact low-income individuals and families. And here's why it's going to impact more than just that. This is why I said call your governors, your lieutenant governors, your AGs, and your secretaries of state, because they're going to be the ones that have to make some tough decisions. And those tough decisions are going to impact middle-income and upper-income folks in a given state. It just is. I mean, let's just be honest. If the state has got to change its budget to try to make up for what the federal knuckleheads have done from the Republicans in the House of Representatives, it was a one-vote spread, Henry, 215 to 214. So what the Republicans have done on a federal level is going to impact middle-income people and some higher than that on a state level. Here's why. So imagine you are a Democratic governor or a Republican governor, and suddenly benefits that come to members of your citizens of your state have been reduced in different categories. So now the monies that they get for whatever it might be have been either reduced or eliminated, and the benefits that have been reduced or eliminated. So now, because that's happened, if you run a small business in a particular community that serves people who are the benefactors of some of those benefits, guess what, y'all? Me and Henry's ski shop in a nice little suburban area is going to have the potentially be exposed to lower sales because one of our clients or a couple of our clients, they have parents who are in retirement facilities, and now they got to dig in their pocket to help with their parents who aren't getting benefits from the federal government or potentially from the state. But Henry and I are middle income, upper middle income guys that have this, nice little business in the community, and suddenly we see a reduction in foot traffic, and we're going, "What the hell, Henry? I showered? Did you shower?" Okay. We brushed our teeth. But we keep seeing a decrease in what's happening with the foot traffic. And we go, well, what's going on? So that's the indirect but then direct impact. So but people, again, let me say that again. Maybe I said it too quickly. There are a number of our customers, whatever percentage it is, let's say 10, 15% of our customers have parents or family members that receive benefits that allow them to sustain themselves because they might be in a care facility. And suddenly those dollars are adjusted. And now those customers that come to our suburban middle to upper middle class store are spending less money in our store because they've got to spend a few more $1,000s a month than they expected, taking care of the benefits that were indirectly taken away from their parents or their family member. So now they're not spending that extra $3,000, $4,000 a month in our store. And multiply that times however many people would be impacted. Then, after 2-3 months of that, Henry and I are looking at each other going, well, we don't need to close the business, but we're going to have to, we got to consider who we're going to lay off or cut their hours. And then we got to make that tough call. So now that decision that we've got to make to reduce hours or lay off 1 or 2 people that work in our small business then impacts their livelihood, which then impacts the businesses that they spend money in that same community. So I don't want to hear people running around talking about these cuts are going to be great for the country, this waste, fraud, and abuse BS. That's the financial breakdown in the most layperson's way I can give it to you as to what this will mean. But too many people, going back to the Joe Walsh clip, lied to themselves and said it was about the economy. You lied to yourselves, or you allowed yourselves to let your racism and your sexism come out in the way in which you voted. I hear people say, well, she didn't say enough. She didn't, I mean, you heard me talk about this bunches of times, and I'm going to hit it this morning. She didn't speak to me. She didn't say what I needed to hear. She didn't do this. How in the hell could you vote for a dude that would rape your daughter? She's riding with him in the golf cart, playing golf, and he decides that because she's wearing a golf skirt, no disrespect right now, I'm pushing the envelope. He decides that because he's who he is, he can reach over and touch her on her thigh. But y'all voted for him because you couldn't let didn't want the black woman, the Southeast Asian woman, to be your president. But that's what you wanted. So here you go. What I gave you in terms of that small business analogy, as from the hip as it was, that's the kind of stuff that's going to happen throughout places in America. And it's going to touch suburban communities as much as it's going to touch urban communities. And it's sure as hell going to touch rural communities. But too many people were too damn proud to acknowledge the fact that maybe this time we should get out of our own way and vote for this person who might be able to lead us in a better direction. And she's not going to harm me. She doesn't want to harm me. She wants to see, she does want joy, and joy is okay. So I don't always agree. I have analysts on and strategists on the show because I want to get their perspective. I don't agree with them 100%. Okay? Because I know so here's the thing, Henry, that clip from Joe Walsh is equivalent to an exit poll. Okay? It's equivalent to an exit poll. Not formalized, but the net result is still the same. People lied to themselves and gave themselves a pass. But you don't have to believe me in terms of the craziness of what's in this bill. We have a couple clips we're going to drop on you that might help you better understand some things that went down in the craziness. We've got two. We'll play one. We'll come back and we'll play the other one. The first one is from Representative Catherine Clark.
But what we do know is the president was at the Capitol yesterday, 24 hours ago, and said, we will not touch Medicare. $500 billion later, we are also about to devastate Medicare. So there is nothing that is off limits. Nothing off limits in order to have these tax cuts. And it is when you add into it the Moody's rating, because it is families at home that are going to have to bear these interest rates, and then the tariffs that are put on top of that. Back to school shopping for young children, where the cost of cribs and shoes and clothes and car seats.
And the things you carry babies in.
A
stroller for the president.
They are
those things on wheels.
It's just going to go through the roof. And we already know people are not making it.
So I could go down the path of who said this and who said that. Vice President Harris, I remember distinctly, Henry, she said Christmas in 2025 is going to be different if Donald Trump gets reelected. And what did Representative Catherine Clark just say? And y'all knew it. People knew it. So here we go. Another great representative from the state of New Mexico, Teresa Fernandez, talking about this bill and some of the crazy stuff that's inside of it. Check this out, guys.
They're repealing an excise tax on tanning beds. This is in their bill. They don't want to read a line from their own bill. Ranking member.
I don't want to read the bill for you. I'll help you out.
Okay, so if you have a tanning bed, you get a little bit of a tax break. And if you need a hospital bed in rural America, I'm sorry, you're out of luck. Right? And I don't know where this particular provision came from. We do know that there are certain elected officials who appear to have a certain orange hue about them, that maybe they want to make sure that tanning beds get a little bit of special credit. But really, we are prioritizing tanning beds over hospital beds in rural America.
There you go. And folks didn't want to believe it. But then again, I think a lot of people just wanted to give themselves a pass. They knew what was coming. They knew what would be coming. They just wanted to give themselves a pass. But they couldn't stand up on business and say, you know what, she's going to do better. And I'm going to feel safer because that other cretin is not going to. I don't want him close to these lovers of power. But yeah, let's take a quick break, Henry. I almost cursed. 773-763-9278 is our Credo mobile phone and text line. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear, call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha, 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 ha.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, Progressives, welcome back to the show. Shout out again to all of you who are sending me texts this morning. Thank you so much for that. Let's go to a quick call, Henry. Let's go to Miguel. Hey, Miguel, good morning and welcome to Choose Views.
Hey, Richard, how you doing?
I'm good, man. You on the road today? What's going on?
Yeah, on my way to work, but it's been a while since I called in, but hope you're doing well.
I am. Always good to hear your voice, man. Always good to hear your voice. What you got for us this morning?
So I'm in marketing and been in marketing for a long time. And one of the things that marketers do to align on a message, which I hear is like a big challenge for the Democrats, is we can't align on a message. So a couple ideas, a thought started for some possible messaging paths for people. I've been hearing you talk about how many people did not vote, and obviously we the challenge is getting people to vote.
Yep.
Here's four. I'm going to start with two paths. Here's 4 words. The first one is killer Trump. Second one is enemy Trump. Now, what is your reaction? Imagine that you did not vote. What is your reaction to killer Trump? And what I mean by that, he has killed Medicare. He's killed all these programs. He's killing democracy is what they're saying. That's one.
Mm-hmm.
2, enemy Trump, which is essentially enemy foreign and domestic. He's doing damage at an international stage. We've lost our standing. So imagine you're a non-voter. Just initial reaction. What do you think would resonate more with a non-voter?
Between the two?
Yeah, and this is I'm flipping it because now I'm asking you questions though.
No, that's cool. No, hey man, listen, I don't profess to have all the answers. I got a few ideas. Killer Trump. No. Here's the thing. Let's just make let's set the table first. Let's assume that audience is folks who didn't vote. So killer Trump then allows you to sort of build that quick line, get people's attention. Killer Trump. What did he do? Who did he kill? And then filling in with He killed this. He killed that, and just that's a video that works well because you've got visuals that you can throw behind it, and that's a good ad that plays in all mediums. Because if you drop that on social media, any platform, killer Trump, some people are going to look at that. I believe, and you can also I think you could add to that. You could then build that the second wave could be your other quick headline. Enemy Trump. Did you say enemy? No.
Yeah, enemy Trump.
Enemy Trump.
And so, and that's I agree with you, and I think that I hope that there's some focus groups being done among non-voters, because and the other thing too. Sorry, Miguel, I didn't mean to cut you off, man. Is liar Trump. I mean, there's a lot of you could use those adjective or action words, is maybe a better way of putting it. You could use those action words to build a message because it could be very simple. See, the one thing that I will say, the only thing I can say to you that I may be thinking I'm partially right on is the message has to be simple going forward. One of the things that a lot of people did say, and you probably observed this as well, is that some things got maybe too complicated. And so going forward, we've got to right now, not tomorrow, right now, it's got to be simple, straight. It's a couple of words. And listen to me, I do a talk show and I'm talking all the time, but it has to be straightforward. So yes. I mean, another one is there's two other channels you can go on, which is, I thought Confidence Man, which, obviously that's the root of con man.
Right.
And the other one would have to deal with his, declining mental faculties, which this is only like the starting point for possible avenues. And then what the Democrats have to do is identify who's the biggest segment of non-voters that would be willing to
get back in the game. Well,
exactly.
Listen, Miguel, I'm gonna tell you this right now. This is the thing that I want you to embrace, and I mean this seriously. We are the Democrats. Okay, we have to. If there's anything we need to change, we have to change the messaging that we even put out. We are those people, and so this is where you have power, my man. You should sit down. I'm very good at doing this, so just bear with me. What I want you to do, Miguel, I want you to sit down at your keyboard, and I want you to type out these 4 or 5, headlines. And then put some bullet points behind them or beneath them. Just type it out as a Word document. Save it and send it to your your elected congressional representative right here because you're in Illinois, aren't you?
I am. Yep.
Then send it to him. I mean, why not send it to Tammy Duckworth and I mean Durbin right now? But why wait, man? Why wait? You can be the champion of that. Why wait? It starts with us, Miguel. It just does. And yes, I'm giving you a little bit of cheerleading about this, but doggone it, you do that, man. Hell, you send it to him and then get other folks to do the same thing. Say, listen, y'all, if we got a messaging problem, then let's be part of the change. That's what you are empowered to do, Miguel. I'm promising you. If you might be surprised. You might be. Who is your congressional leader, district?
I think it is Shanowski.
Okay, so send it to her. Send it to Lauren Underwood. I mean, Lauren is a big fighter right now. Send it to your state rep. See, this is where I oftentimes say we spend a lot of times saying what they should do. They is us, y'all. They is us. And wherever you are in the country, wherever you are in the country, if you're listening to our show today, what Miguel just said is something that we all should be doing. We know we can be doing it, but we should be doing it. You participate in the process. So listen, man, I know I know I sound like I'm preaching at you. I don't mean to do that to you, but
no. You are 1,000% right, Richard. I'm glad that you did, and I will actually do that.
You got to do that, Miguel. And I tell you what, man, you get back to me and say, Richard, I did it. You can copy me on it, and if you, I'll forward it on as well. Send it to me, Richard at WCPT820.com. Send it to my email. I'll be a part of it with you. Hell, I'll run with you.
I'll do it.
Okay?
All right, that's my task. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Have a good weekend and be safe this weekend, okay?
All right, you do the same. Good talking to you.
You too. Be well. Gail got me fired up over here, y'all. Wow. I recognize that number. I guess we should take this call from Ann in Chicago. Good morning, Ann. Welcome to the show.
Hi, good morning, Rich. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. Listen, I wanted to go off of something Miguel said because I like his approach with the marketing. And I only heard the first two because I had to find the number to call in. And my thought was another buzz line, I guess you would call it. Maybe that's the wrong word. But maybe they should start saying, you've been trumped. Meaning Trump being, you've been fooled, you've been screwed, you've been,
yeah,
basically hurt, whatever you want to use for the word Trump.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to go off of his ideas, which I liked. And I thought maybe start using the you've been trumped and making Trump being something that people realize is not a good thing.
That Trump's the bad guy. Yeah. Yep.
Exactly. Anyways, I'll let you go. Keep going with the great show. Yeah.
Thanks for the call, Ann.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye. Well, that was a surprise. That was the most important Ann and person in my life. That was my wife calling. How about that, Henry? Henry knew too. He was like, I shouldn't even put it on the board. Miguel is right on, y'all. They are us. It's us. We have to do both. We have to rally behind our elected officials. We got to push them. We have to be constructively critical of them to help them to do a better job because we believe in them. And we have to do the same thing ourselves. And this is that time when we have to clean our house and help others with theirs at the same time. I'm not saying go clean somebody else's house first. I know that phrase has been out there this week. We have to clean ours and help others clean theirs. And helping our elected officials in that space is our responsibility right now. We talk about the Dems have to do things differently. Well, you know what? We are the Dems. We got to do things differently as the voters. We keep saying they got to do different. Well, doggone it, we got to do different. And our difference is to going back to Miguel, I apologize, brother. Miguel taking the lead. That's a beautiful opportunity for him. We get to do that, guys. We get to be part of that change. And I'm telling you, this is what scares the hell out of the Republicans right now, is activating, to Miguel's point, activating those voters who sat on the sideline for whatever reason they allowed themselves to believe. It's activating and motivating that group of people. That's where the real meat is. Or if you're a vegetarian, that's where the big bowl of vegetables are. It's there. It's that 36% that didn't show up. It's like Bakari Sellers said last year, and I've mentioned this a number of times. The couch won. And for whatever reason. But let's figure out the way forward. And I believe in my heart it starts with us saying, you know what? I got something to say. I'm going to say it. They're all reachable. That's why I said with this damn bill, call the Capitol Switchboard. And we'll give this to you right quick before we hit this break. 202-224-3121. Call that number. Look, y'all. Sorry, Henry. Henry's getting ready to hit the red button because he could see I'm welling up over here. I'm passionate about this. It's Memorial Day weekend, and we've got a lot to celebrate for who we are as a country and all the things that we've accomplished and the history behind that. And Michelle Duster's going to talk a little bit about that in the 7:30 segment. But I'm passionate about this because I want us to be a happier, more joyous, forward-moving society. That comes from my core. Just like Minority Leader Jeffries when he said, we don't work for you, Mr. Speaker. I work for the American people. Great words. Let's take a quick break, guys. The number is 773-763-9278. That's the Credo mobile and phone and text line. We'll be right back.
This is your WCPT Progressive Calendar. Tuesday, May 27th at 6:30 p.m., Congressman Brad Schneider, Democrat representing the 10th Congressional District, will be hosting a town hall in Northbrook to answer questions from constituents and update attendees on his actions in Washington. A location address will be emailed to you after registration. To register, visit schneider.house.gov and click the Events tab. Wednesday, June 11th at 6 p.m., Bookends and Beginnings Bookstore presents Molly Jong Fast in conversation with Peter Sagal to celebrate the release of Jong Fast's new book, How to Lose Your Mother, a daughter's memoir about her feminist icon mother, Erica Jong. The event takes place at Nichols Concert Hall in Evanston. Visit Bookends and Beginnings to get your tickets. If you'd like to list your event or sponsor WCPT's Progressive Calendar, send an email to calendar@wcpt820.com.
At Tropical Smoothie Cafe, summer is our season, and we're kicking it off with a free 12-ounce Sunrise Sunset smoothie for National Flip Flop Day on May 28th from 2 to 7 p.m. Terms and conditions apply.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. A Ukrainian official says an exchange of prisoners between Russia and Ukraine is underway. The swap was ongoing Friday morning and had not yet finished, according to the official who spoke on condition of anonymity. Moscow did not immediately confirm the exchange. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports Iran and the U.S. are resuming nuclear talks in Rome, with uranium enrichment a key issue.
The two sides are preparing for a fifth round of negotiations over Tehran's rapidly advancing nuclear program, with enrichment emerging as a key issue. US officials, up to President Donald Trump, insist Iran cannot continue to enrich uranium at all in any deal that could see sanctions lifted on Tehran's struggling economy. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi early Friday insisted no enrichment would mean we do not have a deal. While authorities haven't said where in Rome the talks are taking place, an early round was held at the Omani embassy. Oman is mediating the negotiations. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
On Friday, the Chinese government said that the Trump administration's move to ban international students from Harvard would harm America's international standing. Harvard has called the Trump's action unlawful. Over 1,000 students from China enrolled across all of the Ivy League's schools in 2024, according to the school's data. The Hong Kong University of Science and Technology extended an open invitation to international students already at Harvard and those who have been admitted. The man charged with fatally shooting two Israeli embassy staff members in Washington, D.C., told police he did it for Palestine and Gaza. That's according to court documents released Thursday. 31-year-old Elias Rodriguez faces charges including murder of foreign officials. The victims, Yaron Leszczynski and Sarah Milgram, were a young couple about to be engaged. This is AP News.
I'm Haya Panjwani. On this episode of The Story Behind the AP Story, we revisit the murder of George Floyd 5 years later.
And some of that anger then turned into, the images of destruction that we then saw, and then I think got a lot of focus and attention in the media.
He can't breathe! He can't breathe! He can't breathe!
Folks who maybe did not understand or support such a reckoning have increasingly dismissed everything that happened in 2020 as wokeness, so-called wokeness, gone or run amok.
I'm paraphrasing here, but he told jurors that George Floyd didn't die because his heart was too big, but because Derek Chauvin's heart was too small.
Listen to the story behind the AP story at apnews.com. I'm Marcela Sanchez.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Skies will become mostly sunny here for today with a high into the mid-60s. Winds out of the northwest around 5 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. And then for tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 44. By Saturday, sunshine, a high around 64 degrees. Then by Sunday, mostly sunny skies, a high around 66. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 46. How did Babbel become the award-winning language learning app? We thought of you. All of you. Take Sierra. As a visual learner, she uses Babbel's wordplay videos.
Today I'll share a quick lesson on shopping in French.
Merci beaucoup. Malcolm is a listening learner. So he checks with Babbel's speech recognition to be
Precio.
However you learn, Babbel makes it easy. Save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Welcome back to Chew's Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820 AM, where facts matter. Take it away, Richard.
Hey, progressives. Welcome back to Chew's Views, 773-763-9278. That would be the Credo Mobile phone and text line. So check out Credo Mobile. I mean, they get it right, guys. They know about the importance of having a better planet, and that's why they're there. So check out their website, credomobile.com. Yeah, that was a surprise, Henry, to have a call from the great Anne of my life. How about that? I do. That voice you hear is none other than my good friend, Karen Byrne of TruBlu Politics podcast. Good morning, Karen, and welcome to the studio.
Good morning. Thank you for unlocking the door for me again.
See, there's some crazy folks out there that might want to try to get in here and get after me and Henry and Mike. So, we have to.
Got to keep it tight over here.
Yeah, Karen would she'd be the first one though to be throwing some blows.
You better believe
if somebody started
Try and
acting
get
up.
at my people.
How you doing this morning?
I'm doing okay.
Good. I said to Henry, we were cheering that it's going to be in the 60s this weekend.
Yeah.
I'm like, really?
What is going on? I mean,
I think it's called climate change or something like that.
I think that might have something to do with it for sure.
A little bit.
Yeah. No, it's been cold and dreary, and it was definitely playing on some people's moods the other day. I noticed, and just energy levels.
I know. That's. I was leaving the gym yesterday, in fact, and one of the women that runs it, she said, "Have a great day." She said, "I'm so happy the sun's going to be out." She said, "And I'm not going to be able to get out in it because I'm working until the end of the day when the sun's probably going to be down." She said, "But at least I'll know it's out."
That's right.
And I was like, "Yep, that just proves how important just the knowing the sun is out changes our attitude."
Definitely,
Good. Well, I'm glad you're doing well. It's springtime. How was I forgot to ask you this. How was your Mother's Day?
My Mother's Day was great. I did have to work, but, I get to meet lovely people when I do an open house.
Karen is one of the top realtors in the state of Illinois, by the way, y'all, just in case you didn't know. Karen Byrne is a politics hawk, but she's also one of the top real estate brokers in the state of Illinois. Y'all need to get with her. You do. Just to let you know.
Thank you.
Don't sleep on that. If you're buying or selling or renting, you need some advice, some consultation, you need to get at Karen Byrne and talk to her about what to do when it comes to your property. She is one of the tops in the state, not in your neighborhood, the whole damn state. So get with Karen Byrne in that space. And by the way, if you happen to make your way over to Substack, she may tune you up a little bit with some of the stuff she has to say about Republicans. You posted something.
I'm like a dog with a bone when it comes to Republicans because, we can say all the things that we need to say and, hold Democrats' feet to the fire, quote.
I was told by someone to stop using that.
Yeah.
And when they told me why, I was like, you know what, you're right. So I'm going to stop.
Okay.
That's me. I'm not saying that to you, but I'm just.
I
was like,
I hear what you're saying. That's why I'm kind of like.
I know she did the air quotes in case you guys didn't see that. But go ahead. Sorry about that.
But I think that it's important for us to understand the constant in this whole conversation and our history is Republicans and how Republicans operate. And so I was just kind of got to thinking about how everybody's feeling kind of terrorized right now. We're all feeling under a considerable amount of threat with everything that's been going on. Watching our fellow citizens being scooped up, watching representatives being arrested. And, it just... So I thought back, about the terror level threats. Remember the color system after 9/11 and, how it was like every day on the news they would announce where we were, and for people that were too young or weren't born yet, they don't know about that at all. But that was what we were dealing with, and it changed how we went through the airport, and it changed how, things that we were able to carry on board, and so it got me thinking, what color would we be at today? And especially, like after January 6th, what color threat level would we have been at?
Yeah.
Where are we right now?
Yeah. When
we are watching the Republican Party completely handing over our democracy, just trashing the Constitution.
Mm-hmm. And making up stuff to say that the Kristi Noem a hearing where a number of Democratic folks on the committees were basically saying what trying to get her to answer what's in the Constitution, and every one of them, we played this clip yesterday about habeas corpus, and what she just doesn't know,
right? And
she shouldn't be, as the Congresswoman said, or the senator said, sitting in that seat,
right?
And here's what popped into my mind when I read your article about the highest level of threat. If y'all remember Henry doesn't remember this live, but he may have seen the recording of it, the replay of it, the movie War Games with Matthew Broderick and a number of good actors, and that was one of the things that the level that we were at. We're at DEFCON whatever. We are at that point as it relates to us as a society, and sometimes Karen, I think for all of us, one of the best medicines that we can take is to get an observation from someone that may be outside of us. So what I mean by that is what folks outside of the United States are saying about us, and I'll talk about this from the perspective of our friends in the UK, our friends in Canada, our friends in Mexico. They're not scolding us necessarily, but they are very tentative in their engagement with us. They are saying, y'all need to get your acts together. Figure out how you're going to navigate with this dude, because we aren't going to be particularly patient. And the mistake that a lot of folks on the right, the GOP non-MAGA knuckleheads, because I stage them. There's a center right, there's further right, there's MAGA, but they're all doing the same thing.
They're all in line with MAGA.
They're not doing the thing to stand up to this.
Yeah.
And so that's why folks like myself, folks like Karen, folks like Stephanie Miller, folks like Tom Hartman, anybody that's speaking on progressive conversations, black, white, Mexican, Latino, Hispanic, Asian, Jewish, all of us that are in this conversation are saying this similar thing, and that is the Republican Party is the tip of the spear of this problem.
That's right.
It is not the Democrats. The Democrats don't have the numbers, y'all. Let's just be honest with ourselves.
And it's amazing how many people don't understand that.
They don't have the numbers. It doesn't mean that they can't be doing what they should be doing. That's different. That's a different conversation. They should be. They should be raising hell every day.
And I love that Hakeem Jeffries clip. That was amazing.
I'm telling you, that came from his ancestors.
Yeah,
the way in which he said that came from his ancestors. Yeah. And so we need that. But what we don't need is for folks to be nitpicking and sniping at the ankles. The Democrats ain't this, the Democrats ain't that. How about just changing that to put Republicans in the Republicans aren't.
That's right.
That's what we have to keep focused on, because otherwise we're going to keep nipping away and ain't going to be anything left on the bone.
Yeah, because we have a media that is playing the both sides, and they're going to continue. They're not going to save us. Nobody in the media is going to save us. Mainstream media is going to save us.
And frankly, we can't keep. And this is, I don't want to say this. I'm just going to say it, and you all can help me clean it up. We can't just keep going. Great, Rachel. Great, Lawrence.
I know.
Listen, they get tired too. And they're doing their part, and Nicole and the others.
And they are.
But they can't be the only ones.
They can't be the only ones. And here's the thing. I'm kind of at the point now. You know what? I'm just saying, if I was them, I made my money. Why don't y'all get together, leave, walk out en masse, and get together with your colleague, Joy Reid?
I think part of the reason that they're not doing
Mehdi Hassan, get together with them,
and what Midas Touch is doing.
Yes.
So I don't know this. I'm just somewhat speculating or just thinking it through, maybe real time. I think some of the reason that they may not be leaving, because the money's good, but they've made a ton of money.
They've made a ton of money.
I think some of it, though, might be, Karen, tell me what your thoughts are on this, that they are just trying to they're trying to stand in the void. They know that if they were to leave,
then they would fill it with somebody
fill
else.
It with some garbage.
Yeah, and
I think that they know that, they're concerned about that.
Then they need to be calling out their network at every turn. Force the hand. Force the hand.
With knowing that it's going to result potentially in them being asked to leave.
That's it.
And then the next chapter is 9 of us have come together and this is what we're doing, because it would give them a great opportunity, as long as there's no confidentiality pieces in this and disparagement clauses, that they can come out and say this is what's really going on behind the curtain.
Right. And maybe even talk about their colleague Joe Scarborough. Who still, by the way, has 4 hours. Mm-hmm. How is that allowed to happen?
It's real simple. It's real simple why he gets to stay in that role. You would say it. I won't say it. Then we'll go to break.
He's a conservative white man.
Thank you. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views. I'm with my good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics podcast and a badass realtor. We'll be right back.
It's nice to know someone is on your side. Mark Drugs always has your back. No 2 dogs are the same. A dosage form or strength of medication that works for one dog may not work for another. A compounding pharmacy like Mark Drugs is here to help you with your pet's medication challenges. We'll be happy to help you when your pet is sick. After all, it can affect the whole family. That's why we give our 4-legged patients customized medications to make it easier for them to take. For pet medication problems, first see your veterinarian. Then talk to your hometown independent compounding pharmacy, Mark Drugs. If you'd like to know more about the ways we can personalize medication for each individual patient, we'd be happy to help. We are a compounding pharmacy, which means we can prepare the medication prescribed in a strength and dosage form that meets the patient's needs. Ask us how our pharmacy can help. You have a choice when it comes to your health care, and a great choice is Mark Drugs and Roselle and Deerfield, where you get better health and care for you and your pets. Check out the Pet of the Month at markdrugs.com.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
It's Choose View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to Choose Views. I've got my good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics podcast with me here in the studio today. You know that voice. That's Karen in Chicago. And like I said, a badass realtor here in the state of Illinois. One of the best, y'all. Get with her. I'm telling you. The Republican tax bill shows us, Henry, where's that echo? Is that because of is that my mic? Okay, cool. Sorry about that, guys. The Republican tax bill shows us what class warfare looks like. $300 billion in food assistance cuts, $500 billion in Medicare cuts, $800 billion in Medicaid cuts, $358 billion in Affordable Care Act cuts to fund the $3 trillion in tax breaks for millionaires and billionaires. Mm-hmm. That's the reality.
That's it.
Let's Henry, let's go to who's paying the bill, and then we come back, we'll go to the other on tariffs. Let's go to who's paying the bill, America.
$36. If you're an average American, that's how much of your taxes went towards food stamps last year. $670 went to corporate subsidies. So ask yourself, why are you licking boots for billionaires and corporations and presidents who are going to give more tax cuts to those said people? $4.5 trillion in this big, beautiful bill, to be exact. The same bill that is stripping Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP down to the bones. And that's after they've gutted parks and libraries and the people that keep airplanes from falling out of the sky. Do you know who's going to pay that $4.5 trillion? That's us. Yeah, we're going to be paying it. And guess what? Your taxes didn't go down. So they cut all those jobs, cut all these programs, and our taxes are not going down? It kind of seems like you got played, right? And it's almost like they lied about all of it. But y'all are so cute, being so loyal, defending your orange traffic cone. And the tariffs crowd, oh man, y'all are hilarious. Because I know y'all are the type of people that would shove a cell phone up your butt to try to sneak it into prison for your boot.
Okay.
I mean,
I didn't see that coming.
I know. That's why
I kind of didn't see that coming.
I know. I wanted to hold that one. I was like, I told Henry, I said, we got a couple that I want to drop on with carrots here. Right?
Yeah.
But she's spot on.
Here's the mirror.
Right.
Right.
Listen, guys, I said at the beginning of the show, I did a little bit of a breakdown early in the show about how the numbers are going to really work. And the example I gave of, Henry and myself running a store in a, suburban community, and how those dollars that were once flowing in are going to change because of these benefits that so many Americans receive. That's a reality. So when you think that you're protected from this because you live in a certain area, I got some news for you. And it ain't a bridge to sell you.
Mm-mm. Did you see that? Do you follow Tabitha Speaks?
I've seen some of her stuff. I got to check if I follow. I don't know if I do.
She breaks down. I think it was an article that she was citing in the Daily Beast, and it breaks down, people going on and trying to purchase things with the tariffs in place. So, like buying I'm just going to throw a number out. I don't know if it was exactly, but $536 suit from Canada.
Okay.
After the tariffs, the tax, the shipping,
right,
everything, $1,800.
Oh, Lord. 3.3
just to give an idea, but it's really beautiful the way they give several examples of where people went in and like actually filled their shopping cart and then went to checkout, and that's what it was.
Well, then you'll appreciate this next clip. I think all of you guys will. It won't be about anybody sneaking a phone. The comedian Bernie Mac would have been. Could you imagine if Bernie Mac were alive right now? We'd probably die from laughing exhaustion if Bernie Mac were. Yeah. Anyhow, check this out, guys. What we call it, Henry and I put this together. We call it the economics of guacamole.
Why does the dollar being lower automatically mean costs?
So, Sydney, do you like guacamole?
I love guacamole.
Yeah, me too. I grew up in Southern California. My grandmother, Juanita, taught me how to make it. And it's got to do with avocados and tomatoes and red onions, a little pepper, a little garlic salt.
Making me hungry.
If you want to live on the edge, you want a little cilantro, maybe some diced jalapeno. You'll live a little crazy, right?
I like crazy.
But those tomatoes, we import those, most of them from Mexico, right? And if you put a tariff on imports from Mexico, let's just say 10%, but the dollar's declined by 5% against the peso, that means the cost of that tomato is increased by 15%. It's the tariff plus the depreciation of the dollar. Now, you multiply that by millions and millions of items, and the dollar has depreciated by up to 20% against some tradable currencies. You're in a very different world, right? And these things tend to show up in slow, non-noticeable ways till one day you're like, you know what? I was at the grocery store last week. I bought 3 bags of groceries for $125, and I just walked out. It's $147.50. What just happened? And then that's when the public starts asking questions. We're not there yet, but you know what? By July 4th, we will be.
There it is. When you made that, when you were making that comparison about buying a suit, or example about buying a suit, that's Joe Brasuelas. He is a chief economist for RSM Investment Group. He's an economist. This is a dude that historically has probably been center right, but he understands the numbers. Sure. And he's one of the names that's out there saying, this is crazy. This is bat guano, as Tom Hartman would say, crazy. There's no other way to label it that. And I think that as we talk about messaging and simplifying the message, what I would hope for is that more and more Democrats can simplify and say things like, Mr. Speaker, I don't work for you. I work for the American people. And say things that are short like that. And say things like Miguel said, America, you got bamboozled. And here's how.
Yeah, this is how much it's going to cost to make an omelet. This is how much. But you know who really, I thought, did a great job with that was Kamala Harris.
She did.
She sure did. She told
the stories.
I get so
ticked off when people are like, well, she didn't say the right thing to me, and she didn't come to my neighborhood and tell me how great She said it. She told y'all Christmas was going to be more expensive. Did she not, Karen?
She sure did. She told us. And here's the thing. When I hear people say, oh, you know, they fell for the misinformation or whatever. What misinformation? What misinformation? He's doing exactly what he said he was going to do.
Plus, I thought you were the smartest, strongest, fastest, bestest person in the room, and you knew everything.
Right.
GOP voter.
Right.
So how did you fall for something? If you're that smart, how do you fall for something?
Right. Exactly. They're doing exactly what they said. So what was it in the messaging that they were doing that you were misinformed about? So I'm like not buying. I am not buying that.
Did you hear the Joe Walsh?
Yes,
clip
I
that
sure
played
did.
earlier?
And I was in the car and I was like, huh? Thank you.
It was a
finally.
It was a dining room full of white Americans, suburban white Americans that said the truth, which is now we don't know how they voted, but what we do know is that this guy was plugged into the fact that there are many people who lied to themselves.
And those are the kind of conversations that we all, as white people, have to be having.
Yep.
And I mean,
so when I say things like it's these four things, and the first two are racism and sexism. It wasn't about the price of eggs and the price of gas in and of itself. I can say it all day long, but Karen has said this a number of times. She's been at the front of the line and saying, white folks need to be having this conversation.
Yes.
Am I right or wrong?
No, that is 100% all the time. I say it all the time. When I'm posed with a question, look, this is a bigger issue than I can deal with, and what am I supposed to do? How can I, because people are trying to live their lives. They're just trying to live their lives. And this is what I always say. The bare minimum that you can do. You don't have to come with me to protest or whatever, for Black Lives Matter. If that's not your thing, that's fine. When we have all been in those conversations where it comes up and somebody thinks it's funny to tell a racist joke or show a derogatory meme about Michelle Obama, that's when you disrupt it. You disrupt it. You call it out. You make them understand and feel the discomfort.
Real time.
So the next time they might think twice about it.
It's real time. It's like positively reinforcing children. I'm trying to stay away from the word discipline, but positively reinforcing children. You have to make them realize the next time you reach for that stove, you might get burned.
That's right. And it might be uncomfortable the first time you do it, but believe me, it gets a lot easier.
It gets a lot, and it also brings more people. Because listen, you know this. I know this as a guy. When I've heard guys say stupid stuff about women, and I'm like, hey, hold on. I can't trust you around women that I love if you're going to be that. If you're going to say stuff like that,
right?
Okay. And Henry and I have talked about this before. I listen. So I will call guys out on that stuff in a heartbeat. And you've said this on a number of occasions. What it actually does, yes, you said it to the person. But there's somebody else in that room that wants to say it. They just needed someone to crack the ice.
Yep.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
So that's.
I'm an ice cracker.
Yeah, she got a big old.
Oh wait, that doesn't sound right.
Listen, y'all, you didn't see this, but me and Henry both looked away when Karen said that. I was like, okay, we're gonna look over here.
That would be a.
She's turning deep red,
That would be
y'all.
like my rap name, right?
I can't tell the difference between Karen's hair and her face right now.
Right. Oh.
I ain't even gonna throw you a rope. I'll let you pull yourself out. Here's the rope, and when you decide to pull yourself out,
I fell right through it. I fell right through that ice.
Oh gosh, y'all. Oh goodness. All right. So this dude in the White House.
Help me out.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Moving on. This dude in the White House. Y'all know I got issues with Dr. Rice, and I'm not talking about Dr. Susan Rice. I'm talking about Condoleezza Rice. Okay. She was complicit in a lot of the garbage that we're in. And going back to Karen's article about, hey, Republicans and referencing 9/11 and all the carnage that came from our response. Dr. Susan Rice had something to say about the importance of having a president that's paying attention to what the hell is going on. So, Henry, let's go to that clip.
It's been recently reported, David, that the President of the United States, who's been in office well over 100 days now, has only received the presidential daily briefing, the most important highly classified daily intelligence briefing some 12 times, some 12 days of his 100-plus days in office. What is he doing if he's not reading the PDB? And I hate to say this, you could say it about the airplane, you could say it about Signalgate, you could say it about so many different things. But if any other president had refused or opted not to receive the presidential daily briefing from the intelligence community on a regular basis, it would be a huge, huge scandal with massive investigations in Congress and huge speculation that the president is not playing with a full deck. That's a key part of the job.
Well, we think we already know the last part of that. That was Dr. Susan Rice, who I just think is amazing, and her leadership, her education, her background. And so when people say Dr. Rice, I always say which one you're talking about, because I have disdain and challenges with one and a certain amount of other respect for the other. And so I'm basing that on their actions. So there you go. That's a tough one for me sometimes because both of them are well-accomplished African-American women. So that one hurts my heart sometimes, but it's just kind of where you have to land sometimes. Guys, we're going to take a quick break. We need to do that because when we come back, we have, speaking of a leading black woman with us, that would be none other than author and historian Michelle Duster. 773-763-9278 is the Credo mobile phone and text line. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.
800-365-6303. 800-365-6303. 800-365-6303. That's 800-365-6303.
I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Skies will become mostly sunny here for today with a high into the mid-60s. Winds out of the northwest around 5 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. And then for tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 44. By Saturday, sunshine, a high around 64 degrees. Then by Sunday, mostly sunny skies, a high around 66. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 47.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, Progressives, welcome back to Choose Views. 773-763-9278 is the Credo mobile phone and text line. And in the studio with me this morning is our good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics podcast. And on the phone is another great lady from here and around the Chicago metropolitan area, and that would be none other than author, historian, and just a cool lady, Michelle Duster. Good morning, Michelle, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's good to hear your voice. I'm glad you're with us. I know that We've been trying to get you back on for a bit, and crazy things happen with scheduling and live radio, but I'm so glad that you're with us this morning. Thanks for taking out some time.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me.
So you've got a new article that's about to be published, and for those of you who don't know, let me just give you this, where Michelle has written: Miss Magazine, Time, Essence, HuffPost, Teen Vogue, Refinery 29, The Hill, Daily Beast, People, Washington Post, The North Star, and Rebellious Magazine, which is she currently writes a monthly column. So Michelle, what's happening with the monthly column? What are you working on right now?
Well, right now I'm working on an article about Memorial Day, about the history and the meaning of Memorial Day, and what it means to be fight for freedom and where we are when it comes to freedom.
How Memorial Day was created, how it evolved, is something that you and I've talked about this, so sort of one-on-one. But give us some touch points on what you've seen and in your research and what you know just from historical perspectives about Memorial Day and what it really means to us right now as Americans.
Well, everything that I've read about the history of Memorial Day is that it really dates back to Charleston, South Carolina, May 1st of 1865, right after the Civil War ended. There were Union soldiers who died in captivity in a Confederate camp, and the people in Charleston, the formerly enslaved people in Charleston, decided to honor those soldiers and decorated a burial ground. And so from there, it became an annual memorial and grew into other forms of recognition of, parades and some leisure activities. And then obviously we've had several wars since the Civil War, and so Memorial Day has become about recognizing all people who died in combat.
Memorial Day has historically been that, national time of the year when, it's sort of, many people look at it as it's the time that kicks off summer. But as Hillary Green, who you may be familiar with, who's a Davidson College professor, speaks to this from an Africana studies perspective, it's a lot more than that because of the references to, that, as you just made, to enslavement and post-enslavement and the numbers of folks that died during the Civil War. But it also lends to how much we don't talk about some accurate histories and some things that we need to be leaning into, particularly in a time like now when we have a federal administration and some governors that want to strip away our histories. And you've really been leaning into talking about that and keeping those conversations alive. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Right. Well, I feel very strongly that, African Americans or people of African descent have been in this country, as far as we know, from 1619. And there are some people who argue that we were here even before that. But slavery officially started in 1619, which is 1 year before the Mayflower landed at Plymouth Rock. And so we have been an integral part of what has made this country wealthy. And not only our free labor for 246 years, which there's no way that any country could become as wealthy as the United States if they didn't have centuries of free labor. Plus, the free labor was done by people who were highly skilled. And that is myth busting as well, because people want to act like, Africans who were brought over here to do work didn't know anything. We were blank slates and didn't know anything. When that's exactly the opposite. The people who were captured and brought to this country were highly skilled and highly knowledgeable people. And that is exactly why they were sought out, was because of their expertise. And so this country enriched itself off of the expertise, the knowledge, the skill of African people who were forced over to this country to do work for no money, And then since slavery ended, I mean, there's just untold number of inventions and creations that African Americans have contributed to the country, many times with no attribution, with the creations being, appropriated and stolen from music to any field. And so I feel very strongly that this country needs to have a reckoning of an acknowledgement of how and why we became so wealthy, and the fact that a huge part of it is because of the contributions of African Americans.
And that's another reason why. And, listen, guys, we're talking with Michelle Duster, author, historian, here in Chicago. And one of the things that I wanted to say about what you just said, Michelle, is every point along the way of American history, there's a highlight of something that an African American, an enslaved person, a freed enslaved person has in terms of significance. And that's why I so often say, and I particularly do this around holidays. I lean into this a little bit more because we have these holidays in America that we forget sometimes what the origin of those holidays happens to be. And Memorial Day is is really, in my mind, about America fixing arguably one of its biggest problems, and that's recognizing the impact of enslavement, but also not recognizing the impact of how so many black folks, African folks, fought in the wars, but without the same recognition that so many white soldiers did. And that's happened going back to, frankly, the Revolutionary War. And so when we celebrate these holidays that talk about America's independence and talk about America's prowess in wars, we've got to give due to the folks who fought of all communities. So this includes our Native American communities and in our Mexican communities and Latin communities and on, but it most certainly includes the African or the black community. And that's why, I thought it would be great to have you as a historian to talk a little bit about the importance of understanding where some of the I guess the legacy of Memorial Day comes from, and the importance that we want to kind of wipe the slate clean of right now. What were your thoughts this past week, and kind of shifting the conversation a little bit to some of the national debacle with the people who are taking away from folks who need it the most right now? And it's not just the president himself with his executive orders, but the folks in the GOP and what they're doing.
It's kind of interesting that this is happening at the same time that a new pope has been selected, who also happens to be from Chicago. And so for, a lot of the people who are in this current administration to position themselves as Christian, but the actions that they are doing is almost exactly the opposite of what the leader of the Catholic Church espouses, and many other denominations of Christianity. So that's what I find to be particularly ironic, that they are going against or almost exactly the opposite of what people who actually believe in the teachings of Christianity are about, which is that you're supposed to love your neighbor as yourself, and you're supposed to feed the hungry and clothe the naked, and all of these things that are just about basic humanity. And they are literally doing the opposite. So I think it's very much a travesty. It's sad, that they are focused on making the wealthy wealthier, and doing it on the backs of the people who have the highest need. So I don't really know how they look at themselves in the mirror.
Yeah, that's been my thought too. Is how do the folks that are saying one thing about supporting and believing and being of faith, at the same time doing the things, if one is of the Christian faith, or if one is of of any sort of worldly religion or global religion or spirituality. The phrase that sticks with me and I think crosses all faiths is the least among us. And that can be overlaid into any conversation in any religion, the least among us. And to be someone that, essentially is perpetrating the lie that we believe in taking care of humanity, taking care of our citizenry and all that, to then do something that takes away the things that folks that are the, quote, least among us need is, I mean, if I'm standing at the door waiting, about to determine who's going to be able to enter the pearly gates, that would be that would say, nah, you can't come in here because the least among us wasn't something that you addressed. Meanwhile, you showed up and spoke about how good of a Christian you were. You were a hypocrite, and it seems to be the entire Republican Party, because nobody's standing up. I mean, with any regularity, Michelle. I mean, what's your observation about that in terms of, nobody's standing up of the elected officials to say, no, this is wrong. Humanity-wise, this is wrong.
Well, that's the other frustration for me, is that it's one thing for the person who, is in the White House to have ideas about things, but he's only one person, and he can't do it all by himself. And so the fact that we have 400 and something other people in Congress who are not stopping this, and the courts. So, I mean, it's in my opinion, it's an entire system that is going along with this. And I don't really understand it. I mean, I don't understand how, as a country, you want to position yourself as a leader of the free world and an innovator and, a beacon on the hill, as something that other countries want to look up to. But at the same time, you're crippling your own citizens. And I'm not saying crippling in a pejorative way, but just you're kneecapping, or you're making it very difficult for people in your own country to be able to grow and to live up to their full potential, because they can't eat. They're worried about how they can pay their bills. They might be sick. They can't take care of their children because they're ripping away childcare. I mean, kids are hungry in school, so how can you focus on school if you're hungry? I mean, it's just on and on and on. So it's like, what exactly is the goal here? If you're trying to make the country stronger by making the people in the country weaker, I don't understand how you would achieve that. And okay, so yeah, you'll have, 1% of the population with more money than they can ever spend in 10 lifetimes, while other people are literally, scrambling for scraps.
And the thing that's crazy about that, Michelle, and sometimes we just have to slow down and say these words out loud. You can't have a top-heavy system, because eventually the top-heaviness is going to cave in on itself. So if all the wealth is at the top, and I'm not, we're talking about money, sure, but also other resources, and there's no resources that are spread amongst the entire community of people, then at some point that top heaviness is going to topple over. It's going to crush itself. And it cracks me up, and I'm sure it does for you too, to see the people who say and try to present the argument that they're the smartest ones, they're the best ones, they know more than everybody else. I don't think that Jeff Bezos is necessarily smarter than anybody else, or that Elon Musk is, or that Zuckerberg and Larry Ellison, and the list can go on and on. And I'm talking about people who have been, direct advocates of this administration. I don't think they're any smarter than any of us. They just happen to have access to things that allowed them to, have an effective downhill snowball. And that, to me, is what a lot of people don't have the guts to call out. These dudes aren't necessarily any smarter than the rest of us. They're access points. Or maybe another way of putting it, which you may appreciate, is they didn't have a parachute attached to their rear end as they've gone through life. That parachute being gender, or being race or culture. Is that a fair statement, or am I crazy?
No, I mean, I think, I put it this way: if somebody considers themselves to be inherently smarter than other people, then there's no reason to oppress other people, because you would naturally, because you're so genius, rise up to the top. But if you rise up to the top because nobody else has the ability to compete, then it's delusional to actually think that you're smarter, because it's not an even playing field. And I think, too many of these people who are at the top, their feelings are hurt if you actually point out the fact that the reason that they are at the top is because the system has made it possible for them to get ahead on other people's backs. And so, this whole critical race theory, oh my God, it's anti-wokeness. And it's like, well, you know what? If you're really that smart, then let's just have everybody have the same amount of money. Everybody have the same amount of opportunity. Everybody live in the same, just make it totally equal. And then if you rise to the top, yes, you're smarter. But no, if you have, all the resources in the world and you're competing against somebody who has close to no resources and you make it to the top, you're deluding yourself to think that you actually are smarter.
And that's why you are Michelle Duster, because Karen is here in the studio. She's losing her mind. I know she wants to say something to you about that.
I agree.
No, that's
100%.
That's the thing. If you level that, and I think, Michelle, this is coming from a woman's perspective. You can appreciate that more than I can as a man. But coming as a black person, we certainly have this conversation, which is they're not. I mean, President Obama. You've probably seen this clip where he was on. Was it The Pivot or The Smoke? Where he said he was talking to the guys, and he said that they asked him, "What's one of the most revealing things that you learned as president?" And he said, you go into these rooms, you're in these meetings, you're talking to different people, and you walk out after the meeting and you go that they aren't as smart as they led themselves to believe, and they're not all that. And that to me, it was, and Mrs. Obama said a version of that when she got to Yale, how people thought that she was less than, and she went in, as a pretty, top student, graduate of Whitney Young High School here in Chicago, and she got there and she's like, they're not any better than I am. And then she just soared. And so that's what happens. And that's the underlay, guys, when we talk about why they're trying to snatch away these support systems, because they know deep down inside that they're not all about that. They're not that, wonderful or phenomenal or superb, because when the playing field is leveled or made even, then the real stars shine. So I love the way you put that, Michelle. Thank you very much for that. It's always great to have you on. You're so introspective and so thoughtful, and I can see your brain turning when someone asks you a question. Michelle rarely, guys, and I know this because of personal conversations I've had with her, she rarely answers a question without having thought about what her answer is going to be. And that's the kind of person I like to be around, is someone that thinks about things before they say something about something. And it's where you can learn things. So, Michelle, I personally appreciate you taking time to be on the show this morning, and you bringing your knowledge and your experience to what we do here. And I know our listeners do as well. So thank you so much for that. What else you got going on? I know you're always busy. You're always working on something. We got your new article that's going to be coming out. But what other plans things are you working on right now? You got any new books that you're putting together that you're going to give us a sneak peek on?
Well, you know what? I actually have. I wrote a chapter for a book that's coming out in June, which I can find that. I should know the title of it. But it's about women in journalism. And so I wrote a chapter about my great-grandmother, Ida B. Wells. So that is coming out in June, I think June 22nd. Wait, I'm going to find the exact title of it so everybody can pre-order it. It's called Junctions in Women's Leadership, Media, and Journalism, edited by Linda Steiner. And the information is on my website, MLD Rights, M as in Michelle, L, D as in dollar, rights, WRITES.com. And so that is coming out June 17th. So that's coming out. I'm working on a large-scale suffrage mural in New York City, which is I think most people who are not in this arena don't really understand, or probably, just understand how complex it is to get these projects done. It's a lot to get done, but my partner, Nisa Page Lieberman, and I, this would be our fourth large-scale mural. We've done 3 in Chicago. One is basically if you're at Harrison and Wabash, you can see the mural at 33 East Ida B. Wells Drive, and then there are 2 at 623 South Wabash. And my goal is to create work where you see women in public spaces, in public artwork. Too much of public artwork, the majority of public artwork, especially when it comes to monuments, represents men. A lot of it is military men. And so in the public landscape, men are overrepresented, and violence is actually recognized.
Yeah.
And so I want to work to not only honor women, but honor women who fought for freedom and democracy and peace. And so that's a huge project that I'm working on, and with the intention of it getting installed in the fall of 2025.
Wow.
So those are the 2 major projects that I'm working on, as well as another mural of Richard Hunt, who is a world-renowned sculptor, Chicago native, who passed away in 2023. But he was the sculptor who created the Ida B. Wells Monument. And I feel very strongly that the city of Chicago should recognize him as a hero in our city.
And that's one of the things that you and I are going to be talking more about as the time goes by, and whatever effect I can have in that conversation, will definitely shoulder up and try to get that recognition out there. Michelle Duster, y'all, MLD, that's Mary Louise David Rights, WRITES.com. Make your way over to the website. If you ain't got nothing to do this weekend, then go to her website and check out the work that she's done. And you'll go, oh my God. Right here, Chicago born and bred, and someone that just gets it done and has had so much impact on historical conversations for the African American community, America at large, and most definitely, as Michelle said, for women. So thanks for being with us this morning. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you, Richard. I always enjoy hanging out with you.
You too. All right, Michelle, have a good weekend and be safe, and we'll talk soon. We got to get you back on once the new book comes out, so we'll figure that out, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, guys, check out Michelle. She's a phenomenal writer and an incredibly introspective and thoughtful person.
Mm-hmm.
You can just tell. I always have to slow myself down when I'm talking to Michelle, because she exudes that sort of, process.
Yes.
Which I enjoy about listening and learning from her. We have another great lady with us this morning in studio. That would be our good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics podcast, who she made herself laugh and turn around. And one hell of a real estate broker here in the state of Illinois. Y'all need to get with Karen when it comes to that. If you're trying to sell, buy, rent, any of that stuff, get with her, because she will help you navigate those waters. Karen, it's the weekend. It's Memorial Day. And as Michelle said, we celebrate it with sometimes not knowing all the history behind
the origin,
it.
yeah.
But it's cool that we are able to celebrate this Memorial Day weekend. Listen, guys, I want everybody to be safe. If you're traveling, check those tires. Check that car out before you get on the road. Make sure you got the doors locked, the windows down. Don't leave the washing machine running or the dryer running or the dishwasher running when you walk out the door. All that stuff. Don't forget the pet in the house because you're rushing to get out the door. Take a deep breath. Slow down. Make sure you get everything you need. But once you've done that, please enjoy this weekend. Enjoy it. Fill yourself up with the joy of the people that are around you. Embrace that. strengthen yourself, and as I say always, take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you next week.